Okay. Thanks everybody for joining. Thanks especially to our guests today, Sarah Prosenko, who is Associate Director of Admissions at the Law School at University of Laverne, and Karman Hsu, who is the Director of Admissions at UCLA Law School. And thanks to the students who joined, and I know there are a number of students who were very interested in this event but were not able to join. So um, we'll be sharing the recording afterwards, and also I'll be sharing out some of the links to um, relevant items that come up from mention here. Sarah, thank you very much for joining us. Do you want to just say a quick hello?
Absolutely. Thank you, Professor Murray. Good afternoon, everyone. It's nice to spend some time with you today and talk a little bit about your preparations for law school. I'm looking forward to sharing a little bit more about the law program here at the University of Laverne. It's awesome that Professor Murray is hosting sessions like these for students like yourselves who have an opportunity to see what alternative career paths might be available to you as history majors and political science majors. And it's exciting that he is including law as part of that. So, looking forward to the conversations today. Happy to give some brief information overview of our program now or hold that.
Maybe we'll just say a quick hello from Carmen, and then Carmen, do you want to say a quick hello, and then we can um, go into overviews. Thank you, Sarah.
Great, sounds good. Thank you, Professor Murray, and thank you to all of you who are zooming in with us today. My name is Karman Hsu. I'm the Director of Admissions here at UCLA Law School. Really excited to be part of this journey with all of you, regardless of where you are in the decision-making process as to what career path you plan to take, or if you're sure about law school. Happy to answer any questions you may have about law school in general. I myself am a local of Southern California, but I did go to law school back east. So, as a past law student and current director of admissions, happy to answer any questions that might be on your mind. So, thank you for having me.
Thank you, Carmen, and thank you, Sarah, both. Um, Sarah, if you would like to give a little bit of a rundown of your program, that would be great, and then we can get into some discussion. And then I also want to remind our students who are joining, Sam and Nicholas and Lilibeth, if as questions emerge for you, please, you should have access to the chat. You can put a question in the chat, and or you can raise your hand virtually or digitally, and we can unmute you. Sarah, please go ahead.
Thank you. Just a quick overview of the JD program here at Laverne. So our JD program is housed in the College of Law and Public Service. Our campus is located in the city of Ontario. So we're not too far from you at the Cal State San Bernardino campus. We're about 30 miles from the San Bernardino campus there. We were established in 1970 in San Fernando Valley area. Our campus moved to Ontario in 2005, where we've remained. And in 2024, we expanded our college to also include our public administration department, which has been exciting for our college. Also, opportunities for students for dual degrees and non-traditional admission paths towards earning a master's degree prior to law school. So happy to answer questions about those as well. But today we have just under 400 law students enrolled in our college. We are accredited through the state of California. We offer both full-time and part-time programs, so flexible scheduling, depending on if you are planning to be a full-time law student or possibly working while enrolled and pursuing law school. Um, Merit scholarships are available, financial aid as well. And I'm looking forward to answering questions that come up throughout the session and sharing more about Laverne.
Thank you very much, and I'm sorry, I just had some kind of Zoom forced update, and so I was knocked offline, but I'm back on, and I'm so glad that Sarah and Carmen are co-hosts, so that the session kept going. Um, Thank you very much, Sarah, for that quick introduction. I was just getting ready to post a quick link to um, Laverne Law School there. And Carmen, if you'd like, you can say just a word or two about your position there at UCLA and the law school in general and its place in the region.
Yeah, so UCLA's law school is located on the campus of UCLA, because some law schools are not. And I actually am probably closer to all of you than I am to UCLA because I do live, actually, Ontario is only about 25 minutes away from me. So yeah, UCLA is on the west side of Los Angeles. Sometimes, even for myself, I didn't grow up in LA. I grew up in Orange County, and I thought UCLA was actually located in downtown LA. So it's actually about 15 minutes away from the Pacific Ocean, about 35 minutes west of downtown. Being on the campus, we do reap the benefits of you being a UCLA graduate student and reaping the benefits of what UCLA students would benefit from: discounts, sporting events, guest speakers, things like that. The law school itself is fairly, well, I can go on and on, but yeah, I mean, we have, much like many of the other law school, specializations and clinics and experiential learning courses, but I'll leave that to the side, and all that information is also on the website, so that we have more information, time for other questions.
That's a great quick introduction and really helpful. I know it's nice for our students to know that these schools are in the neighborhood. That is why I invited you both, because I think a lot of our students look to graduate institutions, law school institutions that are in the neighborhood, that are not too far away. Um, I want to remind our students to please jump in with any questions at all. I sometimes ask this sort of open prompt of within this series of careers for history majors, and that is, what do I wish I'd known? And as you both see students come over the threshold and successfully enter the law school at your respective institutions, um, how would you answer that prompt? What do I wish I'd known? Maybe some stumbles that students have that might be avoided by other preparation, or for students who are not admitted, what are some of the things that you think you would advise these students? It's a very big, wide open question, of course, but maybe a few things jump to mind, and I'd love to hear from both of you on that.
Sure, I guess I remained unmuted, so I guess I will begin. I actually, once I have a minute, I'm going to type into the chat box and a link. Actually, here's the link to our virtual tour and virtual class visits. We don't have any virtual class visits now because everybody's in finals, but we all know LA traffic. So if you can't get to us, you can attend a virtual tour that is led typically by current students during the general school year and by an admissions counselor like myself during the breaks. And I will also post, we have student ambassadors listed online. And the reason why I lead with this information is because they will be the best folks, the best lens from which to discover what being a student at UCLA Law is like. Um, what do I guess the question is, what do I wish I had known, or what do I want our students to know coming in? I think as you research and explore different career paths, there are many that you could go into with a history and poli sci major. I would say be as certain as you can prior to making this next leap into a graduate program, because there is a time investment and a financial investment, and there is an emotional investment as well. So as you sit in on panels such as this one, explore opportunities to speak to professionals in the areas in which you are considering, because you can read websites, you can read articles, but I think 15-minute Zoom coffee chats or 15-minute quick meetings with people in the industry that you wish to pursue are probably your best lens into the practice of what you actually think you want to do. And having gone through law school myself, and now I am obviously doing something outside of the traditional areas of law, I see many of us doing lots of other things, but I don't necessarily advise people to go into law school thinking you're going to explore alternative um, industries or avenues. So that's my piece of advice for now.
Thank you, Carmen. And I heard someone referred to last year in a session, I think it was a publisher from UC Press or an editor with UC Press. She advised students to do what she called an informational interview. And I was embarrassed that I didn't know what that was. But that was the kind of thing that you mentioned there, where you approach a professional in a field you're interested in joining and invite them to, pay for the coffee. Uh, but, get a little bit of a sense of what they did to get to where they are. Informational interview. And it was a really neat idea. I'd never heard it called that before, but that's a cool thing. And I also recommend indeed that students take advantage of that and take a one of your somebody in the field that you want to join out to a coffee and pick their brains a little bit. Thanks, Carmen. Sarah, what do you wish students knew, or maybe what do you recommend that they consider?
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Murray. I echo what Carmen and Dr. Murray did share there. I encourage students to explore options, identify programs that meet your needs. So as you're going through your planning process, identify what might work best for you. Are you planning to work full-time, work part-time, go to school full-time or part-time? Do you thrive in an online environment? Are you looking for more of an in-person program? In seeking that community aspect through your law school as well. Are you looking to remain in California after law school? Are you looking to relocate out of state? All of that factors into planning ahead, preparing your law school application process. But what I hear from students what they wish they would have known, I haven't had an opportunity to go through law school myself, but what I hear from students is as they're starting law school, they wish they would have taken more time to prepare financially, time management wise, setting that time ahead. Law school, at least for Laverne, will be 3 years full time or 4 years for part time students, which is a long time. And so taking advantage of opportunities to find schools that meet the needs that you're seeking, sit in class observations, connect with current law students, network with current attorneys to identify that this is the career path that you're seeking. There might be alternative areas around law that don't require a JD. So paralegal certificate or other options as well can still help possibly achieve your career objectives or be an intermediary step as you're working towards law school. So I hear from students as they're starting law school, they're very eager. It's something that they might be planning, but not necessarily identifying once they're in law school, how will their time management change? How will their study techniques change? And so just be preparing for all of that. You've probably built great habits in your undergrad, and some of that might need to adapt or change a little bit, and being open-minded to that. In law school, networking, creating your legal footprint and community so that as you're going through law school, you can lean into others who can help support you, help guide you, and help you achieve your career goals as well.
That's really great advice. Thanks, Sarah. Thanks, Carmen. These reaching out to working professionals in the field, networking. I think there are a lot of different sort of best practices and different career paths. And here it sounds like that networking aspect is important. Um, my brother and my good friend went off to law school, and they took the dreaded LSAT. Um, I was wondering if what the status of that is in terms of maybe importance of um, calculating an applicant's um, uh, likelihood of being admitted. How important is the LSAT exam? Do you have any or any thoughts on the exam in general?
I'm happy to start with this one. So at Laverne, we are state accredited. So we have an opportunity to accept qualified applicants who exhibit signs of academic readiness in non-traditional ways. So while we do still strongly recommend the LSAT to be a competitive applicant through the application process, at Laverne, we can accept GRE scores, and we can also accept applicants who are qualified without a test score. So we have a large population of students who are adults. They have earned their bachelor's degree at that next stage in life and looking to move on, possibly looking at a part-time program. So our admissions committee can consider things like academic excellence and a strong GPA through an undergraduate program, which shows 3 to 5 years of a consistent academic performance through that bachelor's degree. Our admissions committee also considers advanced degree work, paralegal certificates, master's degrees, and professional experience in lieu of that test score. So at Laverne, we do still strongly recommend it because there are many other qualified applicants applying with that LSAT. And you'll find as you're applying to law schools, LSAT will be that common denominator of standardized testing required. But if you're looking at state accredited schools like Laverne, just keep in mind that alternative opportunities might be available, especially if you've maintained a strong GPA in your undergraduate program, or if law school is later in your future and you have an opportunity to earn a master's degree or possible paralegal certificate in the meantime.
Thank you, Sarah. Carmen, please go ahead.
Yeah, so we do require either the LSAT or the GRE in order to apply. We do take into account everything else in your application that you would submit as well. Some people ask, well, what makes UCLA law unique? I would say, I always talk about how great our students are, regardless of, I mean, we admit folks all the time with um, folks who at least, surface wise would say, oh, my LSAT score is really low, is in the 150s. Well, we admit those folks. And we also admit applicants who have GPAs below a 3.0 as well. So then the question then becomes, how were they admitted, right? And my answer is always, it's through a comprehensive story of who you are and where you plan to go. We will not admit anybody without a showing of academic promise. And that academic promise can be shown in many other ways outside of LSAT and GPA. And the quintessential example is someone who had to work full time to pay their way through school, um, and or they had to caretake for family members as well. And their resume is going to be extraordinarily slim, and maybe their GPA isn't as strong as it could have been. But yet, through other areas of their life, they have shown responsibility, maturity. They can juggle multiple things and be successful. And that is what academic promise is. So I always say be as comprehensive as possible on your application, which basically means tell us your story from post high school through current day. If there's a story through your childhood that springboarded you into your interest in the law, please share that as well. And, oftentimes I'll get questions, should I bring up this? Should I bring up that? Well, if you're asking me, then the answer is yes. And also, there's obviously a professional way to present these stories that you may feel are too sensitive or quite sensitive, or should I, there is a professional way to tell any story you wish to tell us. And I should say I only speak for UCLA Law School as well.
I That's great, and I like this idea of the holistic admissions process. It's also something, although I'm not involved in admissions here at Cal State San Bernardino, we do think about flexibility um, and encountering students coming from a wide range of backgrounds and experiences, um, and things like our Veterans Center can connect to across our campus and that kind of thing. Um, this I just wanted to note that there was a great resource shared by Sarah there in terms of LSAT prep in the chat, and then also we'll go to Sam's question. Thanks, Sam. Um, if I was interested in executive education positions in the future, is law school the best option for me? If I already plan on pursuing a PhD in history, would that hinder my ability to pursue an executive position in education compared to law school? Education administration, Sam. Um, um, I'm also, I mean, there's also the doctorate of education. That's a common avenue for educational administration. But in terms of the suitability for the JD um, for education, sort of upper education management positions, Sarah or Carmen, do you have any thoughts on that?
I think it's a great question, Samuel. It's not a traditional path towards law school and career objectives. If you're not planning to litigate, there might be other degrees that can help you achieve those career goals. You mentioned the PhD in history. There's also PhDs or doctorate programs in education as well, or administrative leadership. that you might explore to still help you achieve those same career goals. But having that law school background and understanding can help at the administrative level understand the policies and how to implement some of that and just give you that advantage. But there might be other degrees and other opportunities to still help you achieve that same career goal.
So this is an interesting question because, executive education position, I guess I don't really know what that means, to be honest with you. Executive education positions. Can you be a little bit more specific, Samuel?
Let me see if you can unmute. Is
Oh,
it
sorry.
I'm muted.
administration?
I basically what I mean by that, at least I was looking at UCLA Law's website that you sent in the chat, and it said executive education, like discussions or forums to talk kind of what we're doing right now. And it just kind of interested me. I don't know necessarily if I would do that in the future, but something like kind of what you guys are doing, like an executive position in a college or a school district, that kind of idea.
Yeah. So I say this is interesting because many years ago, and I do say many years ago, I was looking at other, I guess if you want to call it executive or high level positions in other undergraduate institutions. I couldn't get it even with the law degree because they were looking for PhDs, right? People who could teach in certain areas. Like if it was in the history department, they were looking for a PhD in history. So I think it just depends. I will say that an administrative role within a law school, factually, many of us have law degrees. Now, whether or not that gives you a leg up, I mean, as to Sarah's point, yeah, we've been through the process, so we can speak personally on any questions that anybody has, right, about law school admissions. Outside of the law school, I can't speak to if it's an advantage or not an advantage because some people may say, "Oh, it's a pigeonhole into, with a law degree because we want someone who has a counseling degree or whatever department." So all that to say is again, I wouldn't necessarily recommend, and this is somewhat of a partly a personal opinion as well, going pursuing law school with already the focus of not practicing. Like that would not be I would not advocate necessarily for that. And we get questions a lot too of, I want to do policy work. Should I get a master? Should I get an MPP instead of a law degree? Should I do a JD MPP joint degree? And that's a whole nother conversation too. So to answer your question without going on, I wouldn't say it would hinder it. I think again, you almost have to kind of know a little bit more specifically what you want to do. Executive education within a university is so, so broad. So I think it would just depend.
That's good. I think those are good points, Sam, and it's a good. I hope that helped your question, but good points from Sarah and Carmen to think about that. In the scope of this broader series, we've talked about graduate school for history, and other programs. In previous years, we had a session on editing and publishing that I mentioned, and I find that often, at least when I was working a little bit in the publishing industry in New York City, and a lot of the people with the corner offices in publishing have law degrees. That may be anecdotal, but in the publishing world, it seemed that across a range of different types of presses, uh, those C suites were JDs. But I also think, and to Carmen's point, um, so both those ideas are true, that you want to best train for the position that you're most excited about working in, and think flexibly about what that training looks like. Um, but that, yeah, I would say from my experience in terms of most academic administrators these days, they're often PhDs or EDDs. Um, and then at the law school, level, I think that they're often JDs as well, maybe. And I also anecdotally, a good friend of mine at UCLA, Robert Chow Romero, is a JD PhD, which is a pretty cool thing to be. He's a PhD in history, um, and I think a lot of the research methods there would probably overlap. But anyway, I think these are really good things to think about, and thanks for that question, Sam. And others who have joined the session, please do feel free to either raise your hand or jump into the chat as Sam did. Um, uh, let's see. Are there any other topics that are jumping to mind for Sarah or for Carmen? I can also ask a little bit about the actual application process and what the application package looks like at your respective institutions. Carmen, you had mentioned, actually both Sarah and Carmen had mentioned holistic admissions and thinking about the entire candidate. Um, I assume both applications would require a statement of purpose or a cover letter or a sort of letter of application. Can you tell us a little bit about what makes a really strong cover letter? I'm sure that could look a lot of different ways, but um, what are some things that jump out when you think that's an exceptional or a standout covering letter, application letter?
Um, you know, we could do 1 hour talks on just the personal statement, I think. Just generally speaking, so that I can give Sarah an opportunity to add to what I have to say too. I mean, you can go with substance or you can go with structure, right? I mean, this is a professional endeavor you are applying for. So we would hope that for us, you follow instructions, of course, and that you have 5 different people proofread it. Because, I've been doing this for 23 years now. And every year I read a personal statement with the wrong school listed. And we're all human and we've made mistakes before. But hopefully by the fifth person who has proofread your statement would catch something like that. So just make sure it is proofread, the tone is appropriate. Again, we last year we received 8,671 applications. This year we're pushing 900 even closer, 9,000 even closer. So you are really trying to set yourself apart from 9,000 other applicants. And that is why I do stress comprehensive application, because LSAT, GPA, type of undergraduate school will look the same among 2,000 of you. Like you will have literally the same LSAT, the same GPA in a school that's very similar across the country. What's going to differentiate you is your resume, whatever that looks like, your personal statement, and any additional information you provide for us in narratives that we ask of you in applications. So if we ask it, I would, so long as it applies, even if it's optional, fill it out. Because what we want is to be able to interview you for 5 hours and just have you talk for 5 hours about your life. Now, we don't get that opportunity. So we're going to have to read it. And that's what we want to know. We want to get to know who you are, the meat of you on the application. And that's what's going to stand out. I just realized I just diverged, but personal statement. So all that to say is you're trying to set yourself apart. So think of something that's going to help you stand out. Write it well. Don't be creative, and share with us what it is that you want us to know. And then I get the question of, should I link it directly to law school? Like say I am applying. It's more more times than not, it's going to inherently already tell us why you are now applying to law school. Now, if it doesn't have to be direct. It could be the story that you tell us, and we will follow as to why you are now applying to law school. So, yeah, that's my answer.
Thanks, Carmen. Sarah, thoughts about the cover letter?
I echo all of Carmen's thoughts there. And to piggyback off of that, I would just say be authentic and be transparent. The admissions committee really does want to get to know you, the applicant, when they're reviewing your application file. Um, there's a million and one standardized what your personal statement should look like, but be authentic to you. Share your story. It might be a non-traditional path, and that's okay. The personal statement is your first opportunity to connect with the admissions committee. As Carmen mentioned, GPA wise, LSAT wise, you might be similar statistics as many other applicants. So it's really through those written documents that allows you to showcase who you are, showcase your background, experience, what's motivating you towards law school. Consider including why you're applying to that law school. What is it about their programs or the school in general that interests you? But I'll also add an asterisk to that, echoing Carmen in the proofreading and formatting and everything. Make sure if you're going to take the time to do that, that you review your personal statement and ensure it's the right school name that you are submitting. So take that extra time the same way that you would a paper for one of your classes for Dr. Marie. Be intentional, write a first draft, take a step away from it, revisit it again. When we say start that application process early, that's what we mean. Don't do it late at night, typing it out and submit it immediately. As you reflect on it, really be intentional with what you want to share. Keep in mind, while we would love to advance all applicants to interviews as well, not all application files make it to that stage. So it really is your opportunity through those written documents to be transparent with the committee, showcase who you are, all of the great work that you've done leading up to applying for law school. But primarily, I would just say be authentic and be transparent through the statement.
That's great advice, Carmen and Sarah. Thank you. And Sarah, you did mention I was going to ask about the don'ts because we got some do's in there, but also the don'ts. Don't be too hasty with that final stage of the process. That you, if you're, and I do think students should be applying to multiple programs if you know if the fees stack up, of course, but if you can sort of apply to several programs, be careful that the letter that you're sending is to the right program. We have heard that as a common theme in this series that applies from the sound of what Sarah and Carmen said here as well, and that is that when you're looking to a new position or a new institution or school place to work or study, think about articulating that fit question, that question of being a good fit for that school, for that program. Because I think I remember applying to a lot of programs as a student and then on the job market and thinking about being the most sort of excellent candidate in a vacuum. And you know that I think is something that sometimes is lost in the application process. Learning a little bit about the institution that you're applying to and demonstrating that understanding of the place in your statement. I think that's I just wanted to reiterate that because I think it's an important also place to start your letter if you don't know where to start. You can start why UCLA, why Laverne, why am I applying, and you can kick off your statement that way. Any other don'ts, any other sort of yikes moments when you're looking over an application where Sarah or Carmen, you might say, uh-oh, you know, this one unfortunately is not going to make the cut because of this reason or these several reasons. Are there things that stand out that students might think to avoid, like a hastily edited statement of purpose, where it's clear that the student didn't take the time and care necessary? But are there other things that might jump out that students might be able to avoid in the application process?
I might answer this a little bit differently if that's okay. One common phone call or question that I do receive in the admissions office is if when someone takes the LSAT, if their score is not in their target range or the range that they were scoring on their practice exams. And oftentimes, we always want to do our best, but life happens. And so I will just share that if life happens in that instant, don't give up on your goal. Doesn't mean that law school is not in your future. While it might mean it might not be that next semester, it just gives you students an opportunity to continue working towards that goal, overcome that adversity, show the admissions committee other characteristics and strengths as you possibly retake the LSAT or look at the GRE. So I would encourage students as you are working through applications, there's definitely things to be mindful of. Attention to detail is a big one, but kind of a non-traditional don't. I would say don't give up on yourself. Don't lose sight of your goal of attending law school and practicing law, if that's the career path that you're going towards. If life happens and maybe your test score wasn't at your peak ability, continuing to study, retaking that, at least at Laverne, it won't negatively impact you as long as your score is increasing and you're showing that continued determination towards law. Similarly with your GPA, life might have happened in that first semester of your bachelor's degree, and that's okay. There's opportunities through academic addendums and documents that you can share that context with the committee. What extenuating circumstances were you experiencing? What competing priorities, family, work, other personal commitments that might have happened in your bachelor's degree that impacted your GPA? If you're going to write those statements, always close that circle for the admissions committee, ensuring them that they're no longer an extenuating circumstance or competing priority. But I do get many calls of just applicants, usually around that test score, where if they didn't score in their target range or if their GPA isn't as strong as they might have targeted, is law school an opportunity? And while each applicant is different, I encourage you to contact schools, contact us in the admissions office, have those ongoing conversations, and that way we can help guide on what we recommend as you're going through the admission process. But my don't would be don't give up on yourself, don't lose sight of your career goal. It might just be a little bit longer than your initial timeline.
Before I answer the question, I'm actually, because I keep forgetting, I'm going to put my email address into the chat box. So please feel free to reconnect with me until you no longer need me as a resource for this. And it could be 6 months, could be 3 years, whatever it may be. I have been here for 20 years, so I don't plan to be going anywhere anytime before you apply. Um, so my answer is also slightly different in that I would say, and this is more of a life lesson also for my children, and maybe adults too, is every touch that you make with any law school is a touch that they may remember. So if it's just a simple phone call and you get the person at the front desk and you're rude and we get your name, that may go into your file. You don't know how we're remembering you. If you come through the door just to take an in-person visit and you're walking the hallway and you don't realize that the person you're about to pass is the person you're going to interview with, which has actually happened, and then you happen to, I don't know, not smile at them or they smile at you, they remember things like that. So any touch once you walk into the building or even in the parking lot, just know that that may be someone that you may need in terms of networking down the road. We've had people, regardless of where they are in the application process, they're applicants, they're waitlisted, they're admitted, but they're looking for more scholarship money, and they're just hounding and hounding us, right? They're calling us, or they're over emailing, or they're over visiting. Um, that doesn't help. So, when I have them sitting in my office, not them, but anybody, any applicant, and they ask me, oh, what should I keep in mind or whatever, I said there's a fine line between the appropriate level of communication and too much. So just be sensitive to that. I mean, I tell this story. There was one year, not recently, many years ago, where there was a waitlisted applicant who literally would keep coming and visiting our office. And there was one time where she was like, I hadn't even come into the office yet. They said I wasn't in, and she sat there waiting for me. And trust that I was very polite, of course, but the second she walked out, I wrote it in her file. So just know that things like that happen, even via email. People who constantly were like, okay, send one email of a letter of continued interest once a month, and then they send three per month. That doesn't help.
I think that's uh, something that resonates with me in terms of students interested in a class or interested in a program or something like that. And something I think that's really important there is if you're given guidance by somebody in a position like Sarah or Carmen, um, please make sure that the next time that you communicate with them, you have fully processed and understood that guidance so that you don't ask a similar question or ask a question that could have been answered by that generous assistance that you've received or guidance that you've received. I think that I sort of resonated with some of those points that you were saying, Carmen. And then Sarah, to your point about that, I liked your spin on the don'ts question. I think maybe in some ways that was covered when you said to be transparent. So one thing, if I could flip that into the negative to say don't do is don't assume that don't brush anything under the rug in your application. Rather say, this is the reason. This is the reason I took this year off, or this is the reason that I was that my GPA in this particular semester was what it was, and and then, as you said, make sure that it's clear that you have an understanding of that, a contextualization of it, and that you've learned from it and moved past it. But I think that's a good piece of advice. And then the fine line between sort of pestering and demonstrating interest that Carmen mentioned is also really important. Um, these are some really excellent points, and we're at about 45 minutes, and I want to move toward wrapping up, um, maybe at about 50 minutes or so. But I also want to give an opportunity again, remind our students, Mia, Sam, Nicholas, anybody, if you have any questions, any specific questions. I want to thank Carmen and Sarah for providing their contact information if you want to reach out directly to them with further questions. Um, I think, Sam, please go ahead.
Yeah, just a quick question, kind of jumping off what we were already talking about. And I guess it's a little bit different. For extracurriculars, I know for me personally, like getting a PhD in history, it's all about publishing and showing that you can do what you're going to be doing in graduate studies. What would you suggest would be the extracurriculars you participate in for a law school?
Great question, Sam. My suggestion would be get involved outside of the classroom to the extent that your academics don't suffer and to the extent that you have time. You definitely want to prioritize balance, prioritize mental health, prioritize sleep, good nutrition, all of those things that graduate students, especially law students, seem to forget about, it seems. But I would just encourage you, be intentional and prioritize those type of things as you're going through that. Um, you never know what mentor, what networking event you attend. You might meet somebody who can connect you with someone else who down the road might lead to an externship or job opportunity. So it's always good to keep building out, say your legal footprint, but I'm going to just say your academic community there if you're looking at other programs as well. Ask folks how they got to where they are, brainstorm with them, and utilize them as a resource, as a mentor or networking. But get involved either clubs and organizations have leadership positions that are available and opportunities, or just attending externship fairs, any events and activities that help you immerse in that community and your career field, but to the extent that your academics don't suffer.
I would add, and I do want to actually back up a little bit. I don't want any of you to not contact me because of what I said earlier about over contacting, because um, I have people contact me throughout the years, like regular, I mean, as much as they need to. And that's why, I mean, my email address is public information and I actually hand it out quite liberally. So please, that is why I hand it out. I would like to be a resource for you and would be happy to hear from you. Um, I forgot the question. I'm sorry. What is the question again?
Extracurriculars.
Yes. Okay. So from a standpoint of specifics, um, we just want you to pursue whatever it is that you have a passion to pursue because the law touches every corner of any issue, to be honest. I mean, if you want a lifeguard, for example, or if you want to, if you're a server in a restaurant, whatever it is that you want to do extracurricular wise, do it because that's where your passion is going to lie, and your connection to the law will come naturally. I mean, there's a reason why you're already interested in the law, and whatever it is you do extracurricular wise, do whatever it is that you want to pursue. Know that again, we get, close to 9,000 applications. So it's not that anyone is doing anything extraordinary, right? It's just they are making an impact in the space that they're in, and they are moving the needle in the space that they are in. So that's what we are looking for. Great people, of course, and we do glean that very clearly from letters of recommendations and the way that they talk about themselves on an application, or the way an applicant speaks about themselves. Great people, and people who are going to make an impact wherever it is that they are.
Thank you, Carmen. Thank you, Sarah. Um, you gave us a lot to to think about with this discussion. I want to give you an opportunity for any final remarks, um, if anything jumped up while you were giving these comments. And I want to give one more opportunity to our students for joining. Thanks, Sam and Mia and Nicholas. I think a couple others were in and out. Oh, and Lilibeth. Um, Thank you all for joining today. This is a competitive world of law school, and every bit of information that you can glean from events like this is gonna make your application stronger. Um, I think that we heard a lot today from Sarah Prosenko at University of Laverne and Karman Hsu at UCLA. Um, I'm very, very grateful for you for taking the time to chat with our students, and we'll be sharing out the recording with them afterwards. Um, but any final thoughts, words of encouragement, or anything along those lines?
Oh, go ahead, Carmen.
Thank you, Sarah. I think I already gave my some of my final thoughts. Just, use me as a resource as much as you need to. I will add that people have cold emailed me for 15-minute information sessions about my career. And I'm trying to think, they definitely, some of them have had JDs. I think I have to say most of them, if not all of them, did. But it's not to say that you need a JD to ask me how I got to where I am. And we all have our different journey, right? I mean, we all have the way in which we came to where we are today is all a different path for each of us. So as much as I can help you along the way, even if you don't find yourself to be in law school and that's a route that you decide not to take. I actually was a joint degree candidate also. I did a joint degree in law school as well. Um, and thought about doing a PhD in sociology, but decided to just earn my master's and then go on with my JD. So I again, all that to say is continue to talk to people, continue to network, continue to gain information from all of us in any industry that you plan to pursue. And once you decide the path that you want to take, go full force ahead, right? I mean, this is your future. It's an exciting time in your life, speaking from someone who is decades out of law school and decades in an industry that, quite frankly, if you knew my career path, I mean, it's really somewhat miraculous. I found a career that I landed in that I am happy in. I actually did apply to physical therapy school, which was my number one choice that I wanted to really pursue, and landed here in law school admissions. So, good luck to all of you, and please email me if you have any questions along the way.
Final thoughts. I just want to say thank you, Dr. Murray, and thank you for the students who joined us on the Zoom. But for those of you who might be watching the recording, you might have a ton of questions that we didn't address today. So I encourage you reach out to me as well if I can be a resource. If you're considering Laverne or just have general questions about law admissions, please don't hesitate to reach out. But I hope that you all have a great rest of your spring semester. Don't lose sight of your overall GPA, especially in that final year or semester when you get to that stage. And just if law school's in your future, start early, be diligent, plan ahead, start having letters of recommendation conversations now, possibly with Professor Murray or other professors as well. But if we can be a resource as you're considering law school, always happy to help.
Thank you so much, Sarah. Thank you, Carmen. This is a really been a really sort of information-packed session, and you've been very, very generous with your time and also sharing ways to get in touch with you. Thanks to the students who joined. Um, I feel like I was always a little bit envious of my brother and my good friend who went off to law school. I went off to a PhD in history. Um, but this talking about law school does make it sound very, very exciting. So we talked mainly about the application process. Of course, there's a lot to know. There's a lot to learn. So as Sarah and Carmen advised, um, gather that information, plan carefully, and be diligent in your planning for these next steps, and reach out to folks when you have questions. Don't suffer in silence. Reach out as Carmen and Sarah have encouraged you to do, and you'll find that there are going to be a lot of people who are going to be very quickly invested in your success, and very, very happy and excited to see you thriving. So don't hesitate to reach out when there might be a question. Thank you so much, Sarah Prosenko from University of Laverne, Karman Hsu from UCLA. It's been a real delight to be able to learn with you today and learn a little bit about this process.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.